The history of Israel and Palestine is long, complex, filled with stories of struggle, hope, and conflict. It's about two groups of people, Jews and Arabs, who both claim the same land as their home. Their history together has been shaped by religion, politics, and the desire for a place to call their own. The story of Israel and Palestine begins thousands of years ago. The land, which today includes Israel, Palestine, and other neighboring countries, was called Canaan in ancient times. This land was home to many different people, including the Jews. The Jewish people believe their history began around 2000 BCE when God promised a man named Abraham that his descendants would inherit the land of Canaan. This promise is a key part of Jewish belief and is found in their holy book, the Torah. For many years, Jews believed in this land, establishing the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. However, over time, different empires like the Egyptian, Babylonians, and Romans took control of the area. One of the most important events for the Jewish people happened in 70 CE when the Romans destroyed the Jewish temple in Jerusalem and scattered the Jews across different parts of the world. This scattering is known as the Jewish diaspora. In the 7th century, a new religion, Islam, emerged in the Arabian Peninsula. Within a few decades, Muslim armies conquered large parts of the Middle East, including the land of Israel. Muslims also consider this land to be holy because it is tied to important events in their religion. For example, Jerusalem is where they believe the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during a night journey. Over time, people living in the area became mostly Arab and Muslim. For centuries, this land was part of various Islamic empires like the Umayyads, Abbasids, and eventually the Ottoman Empire, which ruled from the 16th century until the early 20th century. During this time, Muslims, Christians, and Jews all lived in the region, sometimes peacefully, but there were also periods of conflict. In the late 19th century, a new movement called Zionism started among Jews living in Europe. Many Jews were facing discrimination and violence in Europe, and some began to believe that the only way to be safe was to create their own Jewish state in the land of their ancestors. This movement was called Zionism, and its goal was to return Jews to the land of Israel, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire. At the same time, the Arab population living in the region, who identified as Palestinians, did not support the idea of turning the land into a Jewish state. They had been living there for centuries and saw it as their home. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire sided with Germany, and after the war, the empire collapsed. Britain took control of Palestine under a mandate from the League of Nations, a group created to keep peace after the war. In 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, which supported the idea of creating a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, while also promising to protect the rights of the Arabs. This caused tension between Jews and Arabs in Palestine. More and more Jews began to move to Palestine. Especially persecution against them increased in Europe. The Arab population, however, feared that they would become a minority in their own land and began to resist. During the World War II, the Holocaust occurred, in which 6 million Jews were killed by Nazi Germany. After the war, many Jews who survived the Holocaust wanted to move to Palestine to build a new life. The international community, feeling sympathy for the Jewish people after their suffering, supported the idea of creating a Jewish state. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to divide Palestine into two states, one for Jews and one for Arabs. The Jews accepted this plan, but the Arabs rejected it. They believed that it was unfair to give away part of their land to create a new country. In 1948, the Jews declared the creation of the State of Israel. This led to the first Arab-Israeli war, as neighboring Arab countries invaded Israel to support the Palestinians. Israel won the war and took control of more land than the UN had originally given it. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were forced to leave their homes, becoming refugees. Since then, there have been several wars and conflicts between Israel and its Arab neighbors, including major wars in 1956, 1967, and 1973. In the 1967 war, Israel took control of the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem, areas that are still at the center of conflict today. Many Palestinians live in these areas and want them to become part of a future Palestinian state. Over the years, there have been many attempts to make peace. In 1993, Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization signed the Oslo Accords, which were meant to lead to the creation of a Palestinian state alongside Israel. However, this peace process had been difficult, with both sides accusing each other of not keeping their promises. Today, the conflict between Israel and Palestine remains unresolved. Israel controls most of the land while the Palestinians live in the West Bank and Gaza Strip under difficult conditions. Many Palestinians want their own independent state, but the Israeli government has concerns about security and does not want to give up control of certain areas, especially Jerusalem, which both Israeli and Palestinians claim as their capital. The conflict has also drawn in other countries and groups. Some countries like the United States support Israel, while others like Iran support the Palestinians. There are also groups like Hamas, which controls Gaza, that refuse to recognize Israel and sometimes use violence against it. The history of Israel and Palestine is one of the most complicated and emotional conflicts in the world. It involves deep religious, cultural, and historical ties to the land, as well as modern political and security concerns. Both Israelis and Palestine have suffered greatly over the years, and finding a solution that satisfies both sides has proven to be incredibly difficult. Many people around the world hope for peace, but the road to peace has been long and remains uncertain.